everybody. Welcome back to another Daily Drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and the topic today is Carolina Tar Heels football. We're going to play off yesterday's drop when I proposed a bunch of moments in Carolina basketball history that you Tar Heel fans might want back, maybe reverse it. And now I'm going to do the same with football, though I think the football moments have a deeper historical meaning simply because on the basketball side, there's so much positive history that, the turnover in 1977, Dean one of the four corners, and they lose to Marquette. Okay, they didn't win that title, but they got a bunch of other titles, right? Yeah, the Kendall Marshall injury in 2012, man, that sucked. They were on a collision course with Kentucky, but they got a bunch of other titles. We can go on and on about that. In football, it's different because football doesn't have the high-end history that Carolina basketball has. And that's why I think these moments might actually be more important in some ways, because might the course of history with UNC football been different had some of these things not occurred? Now, I'm not going to go directly in order here. I'm going to start with Kelvin Bryant in 1981, the knee injury at Georgia Tech. 3 games into the season, he was by far the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. And Carolina was really good. Dick Crum had a very good team. A lot of the Bill Dooley guys were still on the program. Things were humming. Tar Heels were loaded at the skill positions, fantastic NFL field offensive line, NFL running backs, NFL linebackers. The team was just loaded. A bunch of fantastic players. They're 3-0. They go to Georgia Tech, and they're rolling the game up right there. And they were rolling the game up early, and then Kelvin Bryant gets injured his knee, and was out for a while. They thought at first maybe out for the season. He did come back a month plus later, more than a month later, and the Tar Heels, in the meantime, lost a home game, a close 10-8 game to Clemson in one of the biggest football games in ACC history. This is big because had Bryant not gotten injured, Carolina doesn't lose at home that season. They don't lose to Clemson. They don't lose twice that year. There's a really good chance when you look at their schedule, he probably certainly is in serious discussion to win the Heisman Trophy, which nobody's ever done at Carolina. Charlie Choo-Choo Justice was runner-up twice. He finished twice second, never won it. If Bryant wins one, there's a statue outside Kenan Stadium for a long time now of Kelvin Bryant, Heisman Trophy winner. You're a football school when you have a Heisman Trophy winner. And Clemson won the national title that year. Who's to say Carolina wouldn't have rolled through the schedule, faced Nebraska in the bowl game, the Orange Bowl, beating them in the Orange Bowl, and North Carolina wins a national championship in football? The course of history might be very different. Kenan Stadium might be bigger, might look different. The hiring as time went on might be different. Maybe they never get Mack Brown because Crum stays around longer. Maybe it's somebody else that comes in. We don't know. But I think the emphasis and importance of football and the investment would have been very comparable back in those days to basketball. So I think UNC football history might be different had Kelvin Bryant not injured his knee in 1981. Now, 1948, long time ago, and I get it. You can't live off those kinds of accomplishments, huge accomplishments right after World War II in the 50s and the 60s, because look at Minnesota. Great history at some point during that time period. They haven't been able to capitalize on it. It hasn't meant a whole lot. But I do think in the South, culturally, had Carolina gotten over the hump in the choo-choo days, for example, 1948, 7-7 tie with William & Mary, which, by the way, Southern Conference, William & Mary would finish ranked. They were really good back then. Don't associate William & Mary that you know now. It's a tie. Carolina goes, 9-0-1 in the regular season before facing Oklahoma in the bowl game. And they were number 3 in the rankings before the bowl game. And back then, the final rankings came out before the bowl game. So they were number 3 with that tie. They were number 3 when they played William and Mary, dropped to 6 after the tie, and they moved up 3 more spots. So perhaps they would have ascended to number 1, and they would have been ranked number 1 going into the bowl game and could have won a football national championship, and perhaps Choo Choo wins the Heisman Trophy. Again, a moment in time that I think would have infused football as more important in Chapel Hill. It was already pretty big. They were getting good crowds back then. People need to go back and look at the way football was basically pre-1957 when the basketball team went undefeated, and certainly pre-Dean Smith. But football was a damn big deal, and it would have been an even deeper, bigger deal. I think it would have been more a part of the cultural landscape in Chapel Hill than it has been since then. All right, let's move way ahead, almost 50 years. The first game I ever covered, November 1996, North Carolina at Virginia. The Tar Heels are 6th in the country. They go into Charlottesville. They got a 17-3 lead. I will never forget sitting in the press box, my first game I ever covered. It was a pretty amazing experience. I'll never forget Dre Bly picking the ball off and dancing into the end zone in only the way Dre Bly would and probably could. 17-3, Carolina's up, and Chris Keldorf throws the interception. Antoine Harris, 96-yard return for a touchdown, changes the game. Carolina loses 20-17 on a late field goal. I think Mack Brown would tell you right now, you know what? Run the ball, kick a field goal, go up 20-3, win that damn thing. Yeah, if they did that, they end up in what was called the Alliance, the Bowl Alliance at the time. The following year, it became the BCS, and the BCS ultimately gave birth to the CFP. Carolina would have been in a major, major bowl game at that time. Remember several years ago when it was highly celebrated and promoted when the Tar Heels played Texas A&M in the Orange Bowl? That was the first major bowl game in 71 years. Had Carolina, let's say, kicked a field goal, or Keldorf not thrown that interception, maybe thrown the ball away, or Octavius Barnes running crisper route, however you want to associate responsibility in that moment, perhaps it's not the first major bowl game in 71 years. It would have been the first major bowl game in 24 years. And quite frankly, maybe things turn out different. Maybe they end up ranked higher. They finished 10th that year. Maybe that success would have galvanized the fan base toward football even more, and Mack never would have left because enough would have been there. And had Mack never left, you wouldn't have had the Torbush 3 years. You wouldn't have had the John Bunning years. You wouldn't have had the Butch Davis debacle. You wouldn't have had the 1 year with interim coach. You wouldn't have had Larry Fedora. And Mack probably wouldn't have had the need to come back. Who knows? But that moment in time, I think, significantly affected North Carolina football, and it is still trying to recover in many ways. Now, I'm not going to go 1997 against FSU. I'm going to add 3 things here at the end after I do the next one, and we will hit on that for a quick second. They got blown out, so it's not a moment in time. It's a long sequence in time. It was a full game. The last thing is Mack Brown leaving. 1 year after that Keldorf interception, the Tar Heels go 11-1 and finish ranked number 4, number 6, accordingly in the the USA Today poll, whatever it is now. It's the United Press International, I think it was then, and the AP poll. They beat Virginia Tech in the bowl game, clobbered them, but Brown left for Texas. It's that meeting with Dick Bador. Had that meeting gone different, maybe Mack stays, because Mack didn't want to leave. There were very few schools he would have left for, Texas obviously being one of them. He said he couldn't turn Darrell Royal down. I get it. But if Mack stays, I think Carolina football is very different right now. Very different. He's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest of all time. People say, he won at Texas. Go look at Texas the 16 or so years before Mack got there. And then look at Texas the decade after Mack left. You can't say, it's just Texas. No, that's Mack. So what would he have done at Carolina if the conversation went the way it should have gone? What would North Carolina football look like right now? All right, 3 of the things I just want to throw in here because I know some people might bring it up. Sam Howell's 2-point conversion failure against Clemson in 2019. I don't think it would have shifted the landscape much, but it would have been an amazing, amazing win that Carolina would take into history for a long time, like it has the Connor Barth field goal against Miami, like it has the win in 2001 against Florida State, so on. How about three interceptions to open the season against South Carolina in 2015? Marquise Williams is a man. He's a man, and he owned up to it. And he played really, really well after that. He was one of the best leaders I've ever covered in college football. That team then won 11 straight games. Now, if he only throws 2 interceptions instead of 3, Tar Heels beat South Carolina, and they're 12-0 when they play Clemson in the ACC title game that year, a game that they damn near won. Some people watching or listening right now probably still think the Tar Heels recovered that onside kick. 12-0. Maybe they would have been in the CFP that year, even with that narrow loss to Clemson. Think about it. Things might be different. And then, of course, the 1997 game. The reason I point this out, Florida State was so good. And it was 20-3 at home. Oscar Davenport gets hurt early. Tar Heels couldn't move the ball against FSU. Biggest crowd in Kenan Stadium history, ESPN game day there. It was just an amazing, amazing day of pageantry for UNC football until the game started. And then it was pretty tough. But it is a moment in time, I think, that is poignant in Carolina football history. But these first 4, Kelvin Bryant's injury in 81, the tie against William & Mary in 48, the Kildorf interception in 96, and then not being able to keep Mack Brown following the 97 regular season. To me, those are 4 moments in time that, had they gone differently, would have dramatically affected North Carolina football in a very positive way, perhaps shifting it into a different culture realm than it has been in and currently is right now. If you have any others that you want to bring up, let us know. I want to know what you guys think on Facebook, on Twitter, and on our message boards. Let me know what you think about these. And of the 4 I mentioned, what is number 1 to you? Bryant, the William & Mary game, Kildorf, or Mack leaving? Which of those 4 stand out the most to you? Let us know what you think. We want to know what Carolina football fans think. And if you haven't listened to the basketball one from yesterday, do so and let us know what you think about that as well. These are fun discussion points. They're interesting discussion points. And I'm a big fan of delving into history. So I'm enjoying it because I love college sports history. I love sports history. So my wife laughed last week when I told her, I said, yeah, I used to read old boxing stuff. She's like, boxing? She hasn't really known me to be a boxing guy since we got married. But yeah, back in the day, I liked old boxing stuff. Anyway, I know you guys love North Carolina, and I want to know what you have to say. If you have not subscribed to our channel, by the way, please do so. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you get updates every time we upload a video. Tell your Tar Heel friends that we're here, and go on over to Tar Heel Illustrated, guys. Just $8.33 a month for a 1-year subscription. You will not be disappointed. It's a phenomenal community that we have on our message boards. You will love hanging out there every day. I'm Andrew Jones, and I am so grateful that you guys stopped by. Thank you.